Hi, this is Dr. Gordo, and welcome to the Raven the Writing Desk. Today, we're looking at two very different forms of punctuation, even though they may look quite similar, the hyphen and the dash. So we're going to begin by taking a look at the hyphen. The most common way of using the hyphen is to join words to form a compound word. For example, numbers in English. 30 is a number. 3 is a number. 33 is also a number, so we're going to take two words and we're going to use a hyphen to combine them together, just like 69. Likewise, we quite often use hyphens when using adjectives in order to form a new word. For example, if I'm talking about values, but more specifically, I'm talking about middle class values, middle class becomes hyphenated to form one word. We got the noun at the end, and then middle class in this case is the adjective. This is something that is seen over a longer period of time, but hyphens have an interesting way of combining adjective and nouns together to form a new compound word, and then that compound word becomes further simplified over time. A great example from my lifetime is electronic mail. So when email first came out, it was electronic mail, but that's quite an awkward phrase, so it quickly became email. E standing for electronic hyphen mail. Over time, because people kept saying email, 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 it just seemed silly to include the hyphen in there. So the hyphen just simply disappeared, and then we had the formation of a brand new noun, an email. So it went from electronic mail to e-mail to email. There are some purists out there who still insist that you must write email e-mail, but the rest of us have gotten on with our lives. There is also something called a suspended hyphen. Throughout these presentations, you see all sorts of hyphens being used as bullet points. That's a form of suspended hyphen, in my opinion. This is a little awkward to explain, but when we are using hyphens to form compound words, but we're in the process of listing a series of them, you may see a hyphen at the end of the word, and it's there because there's something else in the sentence that is needed to give it meaning. For example, it is a half a day to full day job. When you're saying it, you're not going to notice anything peculiar about that description, but when you look at it in writing, it is half a day, half hyphen a hyphen day hyphen to a full hyphen day job. So half a day and full day are those adjective groups that we talked about earlier in this lesson, only in this case because, again, the one's playing off the other. It happens rare enough that you don't need to worry too much about it, but I thought I would point it out. What you're more likely going to see the hyphen used for is in typesetting, when in order to get the most number of words onto a page, they don't want to leave any blank spaces. So instead of starting a whole new line, when the word is too long to fit on that existing line, instead of keeping that word all together, the publisher will find a place, a syllable, to stop the word, put a hyphen in, and then continue the word on the next line. So my example here, look for the place to div hyphen ide the syllable. You're never going to see div hyphen ide unless it's a case like this where the hyphen is being used to help set the typing from one line to the next. I hope that makes sense. If not, please let me know in the comments and I'll give you more of an explanation. I would like to go over the adjective phrases in a little bit more detail just to make sure that that's clear, because I don't want people going and just hyphenating all adjectives, because that's definitely wrong. It's when the adjective takes several words to form one concept is you're going to hyphenate it. Otherwise, you're not going to hyphenate the adjectives. So in this example here, there are less and less members of the middle class. In this case, middle class is a noun. No need to hyphenate it. As a result, middle class values are disappearing. Values is our noun. Middle class, that's our adjective. That's why we have it hyphenated. This is an increasingly important issue. So you might be thinking, oh, well, isn't increasingly important one group, like one concept group? No. Issue is a noun. Important is an adjective, but increasingly is an adverb, because it ends in ly. So no, we're not going to combine an adverb and an adjective together with a hyphen. So when you're thinking to hyphenate or not to hyphenate, think, are we looking at a noun or an adjective? Middle class, values. So if we're saying middle class to describe values, we're going to hyphenate that, because those multiple words are needed to be joined together to form a single meaning. So we need to get the hyphen in there. Adverb in there, do you see something ending in ly? Then that's never going to be hyphenated. Moving on. So next up, we have something called the en dash, which is really no different than a hyphen for all intents and purposes from the way it looks, the amount you're going to use it. Don't worry too much about it. So how to explain this? Whereas we use the hyphen with adjectives to form single concepts, we get into the en dash when we're talking much larger concepts, such as a civil war. There's a lot of things going on there. So you could talk about the history, economic factors, cultural factors, all these sorts of things. So a civil war is a concept as much as it is an historical event. But what if I want to indicate a time before the Civil War? I'm going to put in pre en dash Civil War. This is indicating a time before the Civil War. So pre dash Civil War. Of course, another way around this is you could just simply say the time before the Civil War and not have to worry about making a mistake with the en dash. On a similar note, we've just been talking a lot about middle class and middle class values. But what if we want to talk about middle class values as this higher concept, this something in and on itself? In that case, I'm going to take middle class. I'm going to add the en dash and then values to indicate to the reader that I'm talking about something much headier. Again, don't worry too much about this. There's other ways you can phrase the sentence that doesn't need to get dashes or en dashes involved at all. More likely, you're going to be using the en dash for a range in time or a range in such as pages in a book. For example, to read these sentences out loud, I'm in class from 9:30 to 10:30. We're looking at pages 100 to 130. However, in writing, you don't actually write down TO for 2. You use the en dash as written here. So again, they're really no different than hyphens. Now, getting into something that I really do like, there's the em dash, or just simply dashes. Dashes are used to add emphasis. They follow the same rules that a comma or a colon would follow, only it adds an extra emphasis. So, listen, I really want you to understand, as opposed to listen, I really want you to understand. By changing that comma to a dash, you really want to get the reader's attention. Another way you're going to see this in writing is when people are using dialogue and people get interrupted. Before you go, remember, so just to indicate to the reader that the speaker got interrupted, chances are you're going to see a dash. Again, if you are in the habit of reading books with dialogue, you're likely going to see the dash used in there when the characters want to give emphasis to something or they're being interrupted. So to bring it home for you, I put together this paragraph. The middle class grew in importance in the post-Civil War period. So for post-Civil War, we have an example of an N dash. And then in the next sentence, middle class values. So there's our hyphen, became an important conversation item. There's a hyphen there. For example, 5 to 6 became known as the dinner hour. N dash hyphen. Furthermore, there were demands for change, including expanding public education. So I'm trying to create an emphasis there at the end. So some notes on style. The hyphen key, it should be 2 keys to the left of your backspace. Press it once for a hyphen. Press it twice for a dash. Your computer may actually take those 2 little lines and form it into a longer line, which a dash is supposed to look like. So if you're doing it in handwriting, just remember the dash is just literally twice as long as the hyphen. Now, if you want to have the dash immediately after the word and then no space with the next word, or have a word space dash then space, that is up to you. Just be consistent in what you go with. And if you'd like to know more about the dash, be sure to check out rule number 8 of the Elements of Style. And that's about it when it comes to the hyphen and the dash. So if you have any questions, please put them down in the comments and I will be sure to get back to you as quick as I can. And in the meantime, I really thank you for your time. Have a great day. Bye for now.